Welcome back to the deep dive. You know, if you've been tracking the massive leaps in artificial intelligence over the last couple of years, the power is just immense.
It really is.
But knowing about AI and actually, making it work for your bottom line, well, those are two completely different things, aren't they?
Worlds apart sometimes.
So today we're moving past the theoretical, the what if. We're diving into the operational reality that, frankly, many high-performing businesses are already implementing.
It's right.
We're talking about the potential for your business. Doesn't matter if you're a 10-person startup or a global enterprise, to essentially run parts of itself while you sleep.
It sounds futuristic, but it's happening now.
Imagine emails answered, critical reports generated automatically, resource allocation optimized, all done pretty flawlessly, actually, by AI agents, not just helping a human, but genuinely driving the workflow.
And that's the key distinction, isn't it? Driving versus assisting. This deep dive is really about that integration layer. How does it all connect? Our mission today is, well, to unpack this whole concept of AI workflow integration. We're using the source material we've gathered, focusing specifically on how businesses can shift from just, using AI as a standalone tool.
Like a fancy calculator.
Right, to embedding it as the core engine of daily operations. We really want you, the listener, to be the most informed person in the room on the huge structural shifts this tech brings.
Because it is a structural shift.
So absolutely. And why this matters now is critical. Our sources, they really highlight that the speed of adoption is, well, it's outpacing understanding for many.
People are using it without fully getting the implications.
Precisely. This isn't just about shaving off a few minutes here and there. It's a fundamental change in how work even gets defined.
Okay.
So we need to explore how these AI agents actually fit into the, let's call it the technological architecture of your business, to truly automate processes that used to take hours, maybe even days.
Reducing those bottlenecks, speeding things up.
And skyrocketing your throughput. That's the goal.
Right. We're aiming to give you the roadmap. To stop just passively using AI tools and start actively embedding them, making them the core engine of your operation.
Turning concepts into action.
That's the plan. Turning complex concepts into actionable knowledge for you.
Good.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Let's start with a clear definition. What does true integration actually look like? And maybe use a real-world scenario, something that gives us that aha moment. So defining this. When we talk about AI workflow integration, we're not just talking about, say, using ChatGPT to draft some marketing copy, right? What's the technical definition we need here for this to be really transformative?
Yeah, good distinction. The core definition is really about the seamless and, importantly, context-aware embedding of AI tools directly into your daily, repetitive, and crucially interconnected tasks.
Context-aware, that sounds key.
It's the absolute key. It means the AI isn't just waiting passively for a prompt from a human.
It's not just reactive.
Exactly. It's an inherent, almost stateful part of the operational sequence. It's constantly monitoring data flows. It's retaining context from previous steps in the process. It's processing information. And then it's executing defined actions.
Yeah.
All in a sequence.
Okay, so it understands the whole chain of events.
Yes. And our sources, they really pinpoint three functions that offer, let's say, the fastest returns for this kind of integration.
What are they?
Communication first, then detailed reporting, and finally complex scheduling.
Okay, communication, reporting, scheduling. Makes sense. Those are the big-time sinks.
They really are. Think of them as the core repetitive administrative pillars that basically sustain any organization, big or small.
And when you automate these, you're essentially freeing up the connective tissue of the whole organization, right?
That's a great way to put it. Communication suddenly moves from reactive human typing, answering the same query for the 10th time.
We've all done that.
To proactive, context-driven AI response. Reporting shifts from that aggregation purgatory we all hate.
Oh, pulling data from 5 different places.
Nightmare. It shifts to real-time, instantaneous data synthesis and scheduling. It becomes true resource optimization, not just, sticking things on a calendar.
So it's optimizing based on actual conditions, not just availability.
Precisely. Look, if a human has to constantly switch tools, copy data from here, paste it there, make a quick decision, then switch tools again. That's friction. Massive friction.
And friction costs time and money.
Integration means that entire sequence like read the incoming email, check the customer record in the CRM, maybe draft a standard contract clause based on that, file the data correctly, notify the compliance team. That whole chain is executed automatically. No human touch needed for the standard stuff.
Wow. Okay. And nothing illustrates this massive opportunity better, I think, than the baseline problem described in our sources. You mentioned an operations manager anecdote, Raza.
Ah, yes, Raza. His story is, well, it's a perfect template for that administrative friction we see in so many modern businesses before integration.
What was his day like?
He was spending fully half his day, we're talking 4 solid hours, every single day, just constantly switching between at least 5 different unconnected tools.
Okay, let me guess. Email.
Outlook, naturally.
Yeah.
Shared spreadsheets, of course.
Who project management board?
Yep, the customer feedback queue, that was another one, and then some kind of report generator at the end of it all.
Ugh. We've all been there, haven't we? It's the sheer cost of context switching. It drains you.
It absolutely does. Every single time Roz's brain had to, reorient itself from interpreting a financial figure in a spreadsheet to suddenly drafting a careful, sensitive email response. He lost minutes, maybe more.
And that adds up incredibly fast over a day.
Massively. Compounding that over a workday means huge cognitive load, incredible time loss. He wasn't really managing operations in the strategic sense. He was acting as the organization's incredibly expensive and, frankly, error-prone human router.
Just connecting the dots manually.
Manually aggregating data, classifying inquiries, updating status flags. Grunt work, essentially.
So what changed? What was the specific automated solution that finally broke that cycle for him?
Raza implemented a really focused, three-pronged AI integration. And this is important. It wasn't one giant monolithic system dropped in overnight.
Okay.
There's 3 targeted but interconnected AI agents, each designed to solve one specific friction point in his day.
Makes sense. What was the first one?
First, he deployed an intelligent agent specifically dedicated to reading and categorizing all incoming communications, and not just emails, platform messages, internal chats, the works.
Okay.
And this agent didn't just filter out spam. It performed what's called intent classification. It could understand why someone was writing.
So it knew the difference between a complaint and a sales lead.
Exactly. It knew if an email was a critical customer escalation demanding immediate attention, or just a routine vendor invoice, or maybe an internal status update. And it routed it instantly to the correct queue or triggered the right starting action sequence
Bang.
without Raza seeing it first.
Okay, that immediately eliminates all that manual sorting and prioritizing time. What about the dashboard chaos?
That was agent number 2. The second agent focused purely on dashboard maintenance, keeping that project management board accurate.
How?
This agent essentially watched the output of the first agent, the communication classifier, and it also monitored updates from other linked enterprise systems, like the CRM. It made sure the project management dashboard was updated automatically in real time.
So if an email came in saying task X was 80% complete,
The agent would see that, understand it, and update task X in the dashboard to 80% complete. Raza never had to touch it. It completely eliminated manual status tracking.
that alone is huge for team visibility and probably cuts down on those pointless status meetings too.
You bet. Fewer just checking in emails and meetings.
Okay, so communication triage handled, dashboard updated automatically. What did the third agent do? The reporting.
The third one was the synthesis agent. Think of it as the report writer. This dedicated bot pulled structured data from the CRM, it pulled the classification data from the email agent, and it pulled those real-time status updates from the dashboard agent.
Bringing it all together.
Bring it all together. It then compiled and generated the daily summary reports that used to take Raza, an hour or more to compile manually every single day?
Yeah, easily.
And crucially, it didn't just dump raw data into a spreadsheet. It used predefined business logic to actually highlight key variances, anomalies, exceptions, the things that genuinely needed human review.
So it flagged the important stuff.
Exactly. It surfaced the signals from the noise.
And the result of these 3 targeted integrations, this is the aha moment you mentioned.
This is absolutely it. The result was Raza finishes his entire week's worth of administrative workload by Wednesday morning.
Get out. Seriously.
Seriously. He basically finishes his old workday before lunch most days because the workflow is now running itself. That shift, that's the quantifiable, undeniable return on proper integration.
That's incredible. So that time saved, what does he do now?
Well, that time isn't just saved, is it? It's radically redirected. Raza is no longer defined by his input tasks, by being that human router.
He can think bigger.
He's free to focus on deep, human-centric strategic work, the stuff AI can't do. He can now dedicate serious time to complex vendor negotiations, or maybe developing sophisticated predictive models for supply chain risk that the business just didn't have the bandwidth for before.
Or mentoring his team.
Exactly. Focusing on high-level employee development. That fundamental shift from being an operational operator, just keeping the lights on, to becoming a strategic architect, designing the future, that is the ultimate payoff of truly seamless workflow integration.
You're essentially putting the administrative labor burden onto the machine,
Where it belongs.
freeing up the human to actually use their judgment, their creativity, their strategic thinking.
Precisely. But Raza's success, it wasn't just down to picking one isolated tool, was it? It really reveals the absolute necessity of having a structured technical architecture underneath it all. If we connect his story back to the bigger picture, you see that successful integration absolutely requires understanding where these AI agents actually fit within the overall system.
It's not just plug and play.
Definitely not. You really need, according to our sources, 3 distinct layers. And they all need to be talking to each other effectively for this level of performance.
Right, we're talking about the front end, the mid layer, and the back end. Each one has a critical job to do, doesn't it?
They do. Each plays a distinct role.
Okay, let's start at the surface then. Front end automation. What is that?
So the front-end automation is basically the visible user-facing layer. Sometimes people call it the engagement layer.
Because it engages with users.
Exactly. This is where the AI handles that immediate interaction with external parties, customers, potential leads, sometimes even internal staff just asking for basic information.
And the examples we see every day are those AI-driven chatbots on websites.
Yep, those are classic front-end.
Automated email responders, maybe? We got your message.
That's another one. And increasingly quite sophisticated voice assistants on phone lines.
Okay, so what's their real significance? Is it just about being polite and quick?
Well, politeness helps, but their significance goes much deeper. This layer performs immediate intent classification and often some initial data validation.
Intent classification again, like Raza's email agent.
Same principle. When a customer types a question into a chatbot, the front-end AI has to instantly figure out the intent. Is this a complaint? Is it a technical support query? Or is it maybe a hot new sales lead?
And it needs to know the difference fast.
Instantly. And it often validates input data too, like, is the account number they provided actually in the right format? Is it even a valid number?
Right.
And then most importantly, it routes that request accurately based on the intent and data to the next appropriate layer in the system, or maybe to the right human team if needed.
So it's like a smart receptionist.
A very efficient one. This whole process frees up your human staff from dealing with, maybe the 80% of routine repetitive interactions that just suck up time and cognitive energy.
It eliminates that initial noise and distraction.
Exactly. Your valuable human staff only sees the 20% of cases that genuinely require human nuance or emotional intelligence or complex problem-solving skills.
Okay, so if the front end is the digital receptionist handling intake, we then move deeper into the brain, you could say. The mid-layer automation. The source called it the engine room.
That's a perfect name for it. The mid-layer is the core processing and orchestration engine. It's the thinking part.
What's its main job?
Its primary function is task sequencing, handling complex documents, and making decisions based on predefined business rules.
Okay, sequencing.
It takes that classified input, the sorted request from the front end, and it figures out the complex, often multi-step sequence of actions required next. And critically, it does this across potentially disparate systems.
Right, and here's where it gets really interesting, isn't it? Because this layer, the mid layer, it's crucial because simple automation tools, like basic scripts, they can maybe handle a rigid 2-step process. If this, then that.
Very limited, yes.
But the mid layer, it handles massive complexity. It's coordinating things. Give us an example of that orchestration in action. How does it manage complexity?
Okay, let's take processing an insurance claim. That's usually pretty complex.
An example.
So the front end, maybe a web portal, receives the digital claim document uploaded by the customer. The mid layer takes over immediately.
What does it do first?
First, it has to interpret that complex document. It's not just keywords. It uses advanced natural language processing, maybe OCR2, to extract key information. Policy numbers, claim types, dates, locations, and maybe even crucial liability clauses buried in the text.
Okay, it reads and understands.
Second, it might use a business rule engine, a set of predefined logic, to determine initial eligibility based on the policy text it just extracted. Does this type of claim seem covered?
Making a preliminary decision.
Exactly. Third, it sequences the necessary actions across different systems. For example, update the customer record in the CRM system, allocate a unique claim number in the main enterprise resource planning (ERP) system, and maybe trigger an automatic notification to the human assessment team with the initial findings.
Wow. Okay, so it's juggling multiple systems based on what it read.
And importantly, this layer is managing the state of the workflow. It remembers which steps have already been completed, what the extracted context was from the document, and what the next required action is.
So I don't lose track.
Right. And this ensures the whole system doesn't just stop or fail if, say, one external system it needs to talk to is momentarily slow or offline. It can wait, retry, manage that concurrency.
That ability to handle complex documents, manage state, coordinate across systems, that's what really sets it apart.
That complexity interpreting context from potentially unstructured sources like documents and managing system concurrency is absolutely what distinguishes this mid-layer from simple, brittle task automation.
Yeah, that distinction between just basic data transfer and actually interpreting complex, often unstructured documents, that's key. It means the AI isn't just finding keywords in invoices or contracts or research reports.
It's extracting context, logic, relationships between pieces of information.
And then using that extracted context to actually drive actions across the business.
Precisely. And of course, all that thinking and sequencing in the mid-layer, it relies entirely on getting accurate, real-time data flowing reliably from the foundational layer below it.
Which brings us to the third layer, back-end automation. The plumbing, as you called it.
Yep, the plumbing.
Yeah.
Less glamorous, maybe, but absolutely essential.
Its job is to make sure everything connects properly, flows securely, and does so reliably, right? This is the deep infrastructure integration piece.
Couldn't have said it better. The core mechanism making this reliable communication happen is the API, the Application Programming Interface.
Ah, APIs, the unsung heroes.
They really are. For any modern integrated business, APIs are the critical authorized link. They allow different, often proprietary software systems to exchange data reliably and securely without needing constant human intervention. The backend's job is ensuring the data fluidity and maintaining structural integrity across the board.
Now, for our audience who are pretty knowledgeable, describing an API as just a link might feel a little simplistic. What are the really key technical challenges or maybe necessities of building reliable AI plumbing for these core systems? We're talking CRM, ERP.
That's a fair point. It's more than just a link. Reliability here really means seriously addressing things like latency and, critically, data governance.
Okay, latency first, speed matters.
Hugely. Latency is critical. If that mid-layer agent needs to ask the database, which lives in the back end, for a customer's complete purchase history, and it takes 30 seconds to get a response.
The whole automated workflow just grinds to a halt.
Exactly. The user waiting on the front end gets frustrated, the process fails. So we need low latency, high throughput connections between these systems. Often that's maintained through technologies like event streaming or dedicated message queues, not just simple request response calls.
Got it. And the other part, data governance.
Yes. Data governance.
Ah.
This is crucial. When the AI, prompted by the mid-layer, is updating your core customer relationship management CRM system, or maybe pushing data into your analytics platforms, the data schema must be perfectly consistent.
Meaning the format has to be right every time.
Every single time. The back-end integration layer is responsible for ensuring that all data definitions, formats, required fields, everything is synchronized and correct. If the back-end plumbing is faulty, if data gets corrupted or misformatted,
Garbage in, garbage out.
worse than garbage out. The AI agents operating on the front and mid layers will be feeding off inaccurate or outdated data that can lead to a completely catastrophic failure of the entire automation chain, making wrong decisions based on bad data.
And security must be paramount here too, surely.
Oh, absolutely non-negotiable. We also have to ensure that all data exchange between these systems uses robust, secure authentication protocols. Things like OAuth are standard. Because these aren't trivial systems. These are sensitive, core business pillars holding customer data, financial data.
Right. You can't have leaks in the plumbing.
Not ever.
Okay, so just to summarize the architecture then, you need this robust, synchronized stack working together. You've got the front handling the talking and the initial sorting, the triage,
Yep.
the greeter, then the mid layers doing the heavy lifting, the thinking, the sequencing, using complex logic, understanding documents. And finally, the back end is handling the secure, low latency connection of all your core data infrastructure. The plumbing.
That's the framework.
And you really need all three layers functioning perfectly, reliably, and securely to achieve that kind of ROSA level efficiency we talked about.
It is absolutely an integrated ecosystem. The failure or weakness of just one component can seriously impact the performance and reliability of the others, which is precisely why the implementation roadmap is so incredibly critical. You can't just switch it all on at once.
Okay, perfect transition. Moving from the what's the architecture to the how. How does a business actually start integrating AI like this without, incurring massive upfront costs or completely paralyzing their current operations? Because looking at those three complex layers, the idea of overhauling everything at once, it can feel completely overwhelming, can it?
It absolutely can. And that's why we have to stress over and over the iterative approach. Slow and steady wins the race here.
Don't try to boil the ocean.
Exactly. You don't aim for that full three-layer integrated ecosystem on day one. That's a recipe for disaster. You start small. You pick one process, prove the concept, measure the results, then you scale smart.
Okay.
This approach prevents system brittleness. We'll come back to that. And it really limits your initial investment risk. You learn as you go.
All right, let's break down the practical four-step roadmap for integration that the sources suggest. Starting with step 1. Identify repetitive tasks. How does a leader or a team effectively pinpoint the right tasks to automate first? It's not always obvious.
No, it's not. And this step requires more than just a sort of casual glance at a job description. It often requires proper process mapping. Sometimes even old-school time motion studies can be surprisingly revealing.
Really mapping out where the time goes.
Precisely. You're looking for areas that are first, high volume, second, extremely predictable in their steps, and third, frankly, low value for direct human input.
High volume, predictable, low human value. Got it.
If a skilled human is spending 80% of their time on a task that really only offers 20% strategic value, that's your target. Ask yourself or ask your teams. What are the common points of administrative friction where people are just acting as copy-paste conduits between systems or manually classifying data?
Finding the human routers, like Raza was.
Exactly. Find your RASs. Those processes almost always offer the highest immediate return on investment for automation.
Okay, makes sense. So once we've pinpointed those high-friction, low-value tasks, step 2 is to choose the right tool or agent.
Yes, and this is the crucial matching phase. You need to connect the specific problem you identified to the specific technology that's actually designed to solve it.
It's not one size fits all.
Definitely not. For instance, if your core problem is complex classification and categorization based on your company's own proprietary business logic,
Yeah.
you'll likely need something more sophisticated, maybe a custom large language model, LLM agent tailored to your needs.
Okay.
But if your problem is simply moving structured data reliably from system A to system B based on a simple trigger, you probably just need a good connector platform, an integration platform.
And choosing the wrong tool.
Oh, choosing the wrong tool, like trying to use a simple connector tool to handle complex document interpretation and decision-making, is just a fast track to failure, complexity, and immense frustration for everyone involved. Use the right tool for the job.
Which leads us perfectly into step 3, which you mentioned is like the foundational rule of integration. Automate step by step, not all at once. You called it start, small scale, smart. Why is this so non-negotiable?
It really is non-negotiable for success. By automating just microprocesses first, maybe just one or two steps within a larger workflow, you establish really clear boundaries for measuring success or failure.
Easier to see what's working.
Much easier. You can isolate issues if they pop up. You can measure the metrics like accuracy improvement or speed gains very accurately for that small step. And importantly, you build organizational confidence. People see a small win, they trust the tech more.
Instead of a big bang failure that scares everyone off?
Exactly. A common, costly mistake is trying to automate a complex, say, 30-step workflow all in one go. When it inevitably breaks, and it will break initially, you might spend weeks just trying to find the single point of failure within that complex chain.
Nightmare.
Start with the first 3 steps of that workflow. Prove success, get it stable, learn from it, then integrate the next 5 steps. Build it incrementally.
Okay, start small, scale smart. Makes total sense. And finally, step 4 in the roadmap. Test, monitor, and refine. This really emphasizes that automation isn't a one-time deployment, is it? It's an ongoing process.
It has to be ongoing. Crucially, AI agents, especially those that interact with external, unpredictable data sources like customer emails or changing market conditions, they are prone to something called data drift or model drift.
Drift, what does that mean?
Well, data drift happens when the real-world operational environment changes after the AI was initially trained or configured.
Hmm.
Maybe a new regulatory document introduces completely new terminology the AI hasn't seen, or maybe your customers start using new internal jargon in their support requests.
And the AI gets confused.
The AI model, which was trained on the older data patterns, starts performing poorly. Its accuracy drops, its classifications become less reliable, and the entire automation chain can slowly, silently degrade over time.
That sounds dangerous if you're not watching.
Extremely. Therefore, continuous monitoring is absolutely essential. You have to establish live feedback loops. You need ways to measure the agent's accuracy and its output quality against human-verified outcomes or against key business metrics.
Checking its homework, basically.
Constantly checking its homework. And then, based on that monitoring, refining the agent's instructions, maybe tweaking its parameters, or sometimes even fully retraining the model based on that real-world operational drift. That constant tuning is what separates successful, durable automation from brittle, short-lived experiments that fail after 6 months.
It's like gardening, not construction, needs tending.
That's a fantastic analogy, constant tending.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. So now we have the steps, we understand the layers.
Yeah.
Let's talk brass tacks. What tools are people actually using to execute this today? The source material listed a pretty useful toolkit.
Yeah, the tools generally fall into two major categories, which actually align quite nicely with the architecture layers we discuss. You've got the orchestrators, think mid-layer connectors, and then you've got the native AI productivity suites.
Okay, let's start with the orchestrators. The sources mention Zapier and Make.com. These seem essential for linking those mid-layer processes and back-end systems together, right? Especially for non-coders.
Absolutely. These are often called low-code or no-code integration platforms. They're incredibly powerful for that mid-layer orchestration.
How do they work, roughly?
They essentially allow a business user, often someone without deep programming skills, to define complex logic visually. Like, if this specific field changes in Salesforce, System A, and the document classification from our custom AI agent is urgent, then execute this specific sequence of actions in Slack, System B, and create a task in Asana, System C.
Okay, visually mapping out the workflow logic.
Exactly. They are vital for orchestrating those multi-step, multi-system tasks without needing to write dedicated custom code for every single system integration. This massively speeds up the initial deployment phase, letting you test ideas quickly.
Great for that start small approach.
Perfect for it.
Then we have the other category. The tools that bring AI directly into our existing productivity environments. The examples given were Notion AI and Microsoft Copilot.
Yes, these are fascinating because they often leverage the user's personal work graph, their existing data and context.
How so?
Well, Microsoft Copilot, for instance, operates right within the Microsoft 365 ecosystem. You're already using Outlook, Teams, Word, Excel. You can analyze your calendar, read through your previous emails on a topic, look at shared documents.
To understand your context.
Exactly. And then perform tasks based on that context.
Yeah.
Like summarizing a 2-hour meeting you just attended into 3 key bullet points, and maybe even drafting follow-up emails tailored to specific attendees mentioned in the meeting.
That's embedding AI right into the flow of work.
Deeply embedded. They put generative AI capabilities into the specific context of your daily work life rather than making you switch to a separate AI tool.
Okay. And finally, the source material highlighted custom GPT workflows. This sounds like the most advanced, most specialized level of integration.
It generally is, yes. This is usually for the unique, thorny problems,
Right.
where standard off-the-shelf tools or even the embedded AI suites don't quite meet the company's very specific proprietary requirements.
When you need something truly bespoke.
Exactly. Custom GPTs allow a business to train, or more accurately, fine-tune or guide, a specialized AI agent on its own, internal, often confidential, proprietary knowledge base.
Like what kind of knowledge?
Think internal procedure manuals, technical support documents, legal archives, unique engineering specs, information that isn't public. The key technical method often used here is something called retrieval augmented generation, or RAG.
RAG, I've heard that term. That's where the AI looks up facts in a private database before it generates an answer, correct? To make sure it's accurate and relevant.
Precisely right. RAG is huge. It ensures the agent adheres strictly to the company's unique internal operating procedures, its specific business logic, or verified facts from its own knowledge base, rather than just, hallucinating or relying on generic public knowledge from its base training.
So it stays factual and compliant with internal rules.
Extremely important. Custom GPTs, often powered by RAG, are frequently the heart of that bespoke mid-layer automation we talked about. They ensure the AI's decisions and outputs are accurate, highly contextually relevant to the business, and align perfectly with company policy, which is absolutely essential for things like auditability and compliance. You need to know why the AI made a certain recommendation.
Okay, so we've got the architecture, we've walked through the roadmap, we know the kinds of tools people are using. Let's really solidify the concrete payoffs here. We know how to integrate, roughly, but what are the core measurable benefits that really make this kind of investment worthwhile? Why go through the effort?
Well, the benefits are pretty systemic. They affect the whole operation.
Yeah.
But they start with the most obvious and usually the most immediate return, plain old efficiency.
Right, efficiency. And when that's realized, it means direct savings in labor time, which translates directly to operational cost savings. If you genuinely cut the hours spent on administrative tasks by, say, 50%,
Which is achievable in targeted areas.
you can redirect those highly compensated individuals, your skilled staff, to much higher value strategic tasks, things that actually grow the business.
Absolutely. And that time-saving benefit is strongly reinforced by the second major benefit, accuracy.
Ah, reducing mistakes.
Exactly. AI agents, particularly when deployed for repetitive data handling or calculation tasks, simply do not suffer from fatigue or distraction, or the kind of cognitive load that inevitably leads to human error, especially over long periods.
We all make typos or calculation errors eventually.
It's human nature. But in critical fields, think logistics tracking, financial reconciliation, complex compliance reporting, reducing or even eliminating human error in data input or calculation. It's not just efficient, it's a crucial strategy for mitigating significant financial and regulatory risk. Fewer errors mean fewer costly fixes later.
Makes sense. Efficiency, accuracy. What's the third big one?
The third and perhaps the most strategically powerful benefit is scalability. This is really the difference between slow, linear business growth and potentially exponential growth.
How does automation enable scalability specifically?
Well, an automated business, or at least key parts of it, gains the capacity to operate 24/7, 365, if needed. It enables continuous global operation regardless of local staffing hours or time zones,
Always on.
always on for key processes. And critically, it allows the business to absorb massive, often unexpected surges in demand. Maybe a viral marketing campaign takes off, or a competitor suddenly falters without instantly needing to hire and train armies of temporary staff.
The system can just handle the increased volume.
The system can scale its output, its processing power, its response time almost instantly, providing immediate customer service during a rush or continuous global data processing during peak loads. That kind of elastic capacity is a decisive competitive advantage in today's market.
Okay, these benefits, efficiency, accuracy, scalability, they're undeniably compelling. But hang on. We've focused heavily on the cost savings. What about the other side of the coin? The potentially massive initial investment, the integration pain, the ongoing maintenance cost of keeping all those complex APIs and custom models running smoothly. Isn't this kind of deep integration still only truly accessible or feasible for massive enterprises with practically unlimited budgets? Can a smaller business realistically do this?
That's an essential question, and you're right to raise it. It's a necessary friction point we absolutely need to address. It is true, undeniably, that the upfront cost of establishing that robust back-end plumbing, getting the APIs working reliably, and maybe training or configuring those sophisticated mid-layer agents, it can be significant. There's no pretending otherwise.
Right, it's not free.
However, the calculation really shifts when you move from looking only at the immediate investment to considering the total cost of ownership, TCO, over, say, 3 to 5 years, and the long-term leverage it provides.
Okay, explain the TCO argument.
For many smaller or medium-sized businesses, the return on investment, ROI, on automating just 2 or 3 high-friction, high-volume tasks, like we saw with Raza, often offsets the initial integration cost within 12 to 18 months, sometimes even faster, purely through recovered employee productivity and reduced error rates.
So the payback period can be relatively short.
It often is, if you choose the right starting points. Furthermore, the landscape has changed. Those modern low-code tools we mentioned, like Zapier and Make.com, they have radically lowered the barrier to entry for sophisticated integration. Building complex workflows is no longer solely the domain of expensive custom software development houses charging hundreds of thousands.
So it's become more democratized.
Significantly more.
Yeah.
So you really must view the integration cost not just as an expenditure line item, but as the purchase of guaranteed scalable operational capacity for the future. It's an investment in future growth and resilience.
Okay, that frames the cost argument much more effectively. But let's move to the crucial cautions you alluded to earlier. What are the real risks that come with rapid, maybe non-strategic automation? We have to talk about balancing all this automation with necessary human oversight.
Absolutely critical. The first major caution, based strongly on our source material, is to strictly avoid over-automation.
Over-automation, meaning automating things that maybe shouldn't be.
Precisely. Over-automation is the dangerous pitfall of automating tasks purely for the sake of eliminating human interaction, or because the tech can do it, not because it should. This often leads to what engineers call brittle systems.
Brittle systems. What makes a system brittle in this automation context?
Brittleness here comes from creating overly complex, tightly coupled dependency mappings without enough flexibility. If you automate, say, a 20-step process end-to-end, and step 17 inherently requires nuanced human judgment for handling rare but critical exceptions, but you automate it anyway with rigid rules, that step becomes a hidden critical point of failure. When an unexpected exception inevitably occurs, something the rules didn't anticipate, the entire automated system might crash, or worse, make a really bad decision automatically. And recovery, figuring out what went wrong in that complex chain, is exponentially harder than if a human had simply been monitoring that specific judgment point all along.
So forcing automation onto highly variable tasks is risky.
Very risky. If a process is highly variable, relies on subjective interpretation, or requires complex, non-binary human judgment, forcing rigid automation onto it will likely cost you more in maintenance, failure recovery, and lost customer trust than it ever saves in efficiency.
Okay, so the strategy really is automate the predictable 95% of the standard workflow.
Yes, nailed it.
And deliberately leave the human expert to focus their attention on handling the unpredictable 5% of exceptions and complex cases.
That's the smart balance. And this leads directly to the second essential caution. Always maintain human approval loops, particularly for sensitive or high-stakes processes. This is your fundamental ethical control point and, frankly, your safety net.
Where do you absolutely need a human in the loop?
Well, think about any critical function. Things like finalizing large financial transactions above a certain threshold, approving sensitive compliance documents before they're submitted externally, or maybe sending out external communications that carry significant brand risk if they're wrong or poorly worded.
High consequence decisions.
Exactly. For those, there simply must be a mandate for human sign-off and control. The AI can and should do the prep work, draft the document, analyze the data, prepare the risk assessment, generate the recommendation package, make the human's job easier.
It presents the case.
It presents the case, perfectly prepared. But the final gonna-go decision absolutely remains with the accountable human operator. This ensures accountability, it maintains client and regulator trust, and critically, it prevents potentially disastrous unintended consequences that fully autonomous agents might generate when faced with truly novel or ambiguous situations they weren't trained for. That balance between harnessing the speed of AI and retaining human control is everything.
Okay. The theory, the roadmap, the tools, the benefits, the crucial warnings, that's all essential grounding. But now let's look at a concrete, measurable example of this whole integrated strategy really working in the wild, something that shows the actual impact on the bottom line.
Right. Let's make it tangible. For this, we can turn to the fascinating case study provided in the source material. A fairly large Pakistani logistics company. They decided to deeply integrate AI into their sprawling, complex operations.
Logistics, that seems like a perfect proving ground, doesn't it? Because it's inherently so data-heavy, incredibly time-sensitive, and often operates on really razor-thin profit margins.
Exactly. It's a high-pressure environment where any efficiency gain, any cost reduction translates directly into a massive competitive advantage. Mistakes are costly, delays are costly.
So what specific integrations did they use? Did they target particular pain points common in logistics? And did it align with those 3 layers we talked about?
They did, almost perfectly. Their integrations targeted 3 major points of operational pain that you see across the logistics sector globally. And yes, they map very nicely to the front-end, mid-layer, and back-end architecture.
Okay, what did they do first? Front end.
First, they attacked the front-end inefficiency, particularly around customer communication. They deployed AI chatbots and automated communication agents specifically for handling direct customer updates about package status.
Ah, the classic, where is my package question.
The bane of every logistics call center. Before, customers had to call a human agent, wait on hold, and then that agent had to manually search through the dispatch system to find the package's current status. Inefficient, frustrating for everyone.
So what's the after?
Now, the AI proactively provides real-time status updates, often triggered by GPS location data scans. And it can instantly answer probably 90% or more of those common status queries via text message or web chat, 24/7.
Immediate answers.
Immediate answers, which massively elevates customer satisfaction. And just as importantly, it radically reduced the load on their human call center agents, freeing them up for more complex issues. It's arguably the highest leverage use of front-end automation in that industry.
Makes sense. Okay, second integration. This would be the mid-layer, the engine room. This must be where it gets really complex and logistic.
Oh, yes. This is where they integrated sophisticated predictive AI models specifically for managing their vast, complex fleet schedules. And we need to be clear, this is far, far beyond simple static route planning like you'd get from Google Maps.
Okay, how so? What makes it predictive and mid-layer?
This predictor model acts as the dynamic orchestration engine for the entire delivery operation. It doesn't just calculate an optimal route once at the start of the day. It dynamically optimizes routes and schedules in real time, constantly adjusting.
Based on what? What data is it using?
It ingests a huge, complex stream of real-time data, things like live traffic conditions from sensors and external feeds, historical driver performance metrics, who drives more efficiently on which routes, current fuel costs, which fluctuate, real-time cargo weight for each truck, affecting fuel consumption, even weather data that might impact road closures or safety.
Wow, that's a lot of variables.
A ton. The AI mid-layer processes all these variables concurrently, constantly recalculating. It adjusts routes on the fly to avoid unexpected traffic jams. It predicts potential vehicle maintenance needs based on sensor data to prevent costly breakdowns. It optimizes driver rest schedules for compliance and efficiency. And it sequences deliveries dynamically to minimize total mileage and fuel consumption across the entire fleet.
And this is happening continuously.
This optimization process is continuous. It's running literally thousands of what-if scenarios every hour across the whole fleet, something no team of human planners could ever possibly manage manually.
So the output isn't just a static schedule printed in the morning. It's a living, breathing, dynamic schedule that responds instantly to the real-world conditions.
That's exactly it. A dynamic, self-optimizing schedule.
Okay, incredible mid-layer example.
Okay.
And the third integration, this must be the back-end piece, ensuring data fluidity.
Correct. The third key integration ensured timely visibility and accurate data flow. They implemented automated reporting systems that tracked key performance indicators like delivery times, fuel efficiency per vehicle, and adherence to those dynamically projected schedules, all in real time. This handled the back-end data connection and reporting.
So no more waiting for analysts to compile reports.
Exactly. Instead of waiting a day or sometimes even a week for a human analyst to pull data, clean it up, and compile performance reports, the operations team now has real-time automated dashboards. They track key metrics instantly. The back-end plumbing, the APIs, ensure that the real-time data flowing from the predictive scheduling model in the mid-layer and from the GPS sensors on the vehicles was clean, secure, and instantly accessible for reporting and analysis.
Which allows for immediate course correction.
Right. Immediate course correction based on live data, rather than reactive damage control days after something went wrong.
Okay, so they tackled customer communication, front end, dynamic scheduling, mid-layer, and real-time reporting, back end. What was the overall quantifiable result of combining these three targeted integrations? Did it move the needle?
Oh, it absolutely moved the needle. The combined effect was, frankly, startling and truly transformative for their business. They achieved a significant 35% overall cost reduction across their logistics operation. 35%.
Wow, 35% is massive in logistics.
It's enormous.
Yeah.
And alongside that, they demonstrated measurably faster overall service delivery times to their customers.
Where did the cost savings primarily come from?
Primarily from two areas. Dramatically reduced fuel consumption due to the continuous route optimization from the mid-layer AI, and a massive reduction in administrative overhead costs across both the dispatch teams and the customer service call center teams, thanks to the front-end and reporting automation. That kind of margin increase gives them an enormous competitive advantage in a cutthroat industry.
And the final really strategic outcome here, the source highlighted this, was that this massive improvement, this 35% cost reduction and faster service, was achieved without adding any new staff, correct?
That's the kicker. They scaled their output and efficiency dramatically without scaling their fixed labor costs in parallel.
Which really proves the sheer leverage of intelligent, integrated workflow automation, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. The existing workforce wasn't replaced. They were made dramatically more productive. They could handle significantly more delivery volume, more complexity, while the company operated at a radically lower overall operational cost per delivery. It perfectly illustrates the necessity of moving beyond just simple, isolated AI experiments towards deploying full, interconnected system automation across the critical layers. Hashtag tag outro.
So what does all this mean for you, our listener? Whether you run a small, specialized team or you oversee operations in a sprawling, global organization, what's the big takeaway here?
Well, I think it means that the type of administrative grunt work, the human router tasks that maybe once defined operational efficiency,
Yeah.
that era is rapidly coming to an end. It's being retired by the machines, by these integrated AI systems.
And the time for just passively observing this shift, that time is over, isn't it?
It really is. It means the challenge and the opportunity for leaders now is all about smart architectural deployment. It's genuinely time to act, to start planning, and to begin redefining the human role within your organization towards higher value work.
Okay, let's just synthesize the core ideas one last time for everyone. We started with this almost sci-fi idea of a business running parts of itself
While you sleep.
while you sleep. And we walked through the secure, three-layered architecture that's actually required to make that a reality, not just a fantasy.
Mm.
So first, remember that true workflow automation turns AI into your genuine daily business partner. It moves AI from being just a clever curiosity or a standalone tool into becoming a stateful, context-aware core operational engine that actively manages context and sequences tasks for you.
Partner, not just tool. That's key. Second, always adopt that start small scale smart approach. Don't try to automate everything at once. Identify those repetitive, high volume, low value tasks that cause the most administrative friction first. Prove your concept on a small scale, measure the results, learn, and then build out your architecture layer by layer. Always prioritizing reliability, simplicity, and auditability over unnecessary complexity.
Right. Build incrementally. And third, never forget the crucial constraint. Always balance automation with human oversight and judgment. AI should augment, it should analyze, it should prepare the decision package, make recommendations.
Make humans faster and smarter.
Exactly. But final human judgment and accountability must always retain control, especially in sensitive operational areas, high-stakes decisions, and particularly in handling those unpredictable exceptions.
Absolutely. And maybe a final thought to leave people with. The real future here, the next big leap, probably doesn't just belong to businesses that automate wisely within a single department, like just optimizing logistics or just sales.
Okay.
It likely belongs to those organizations that look past those single-function integrations and start seriously considering how to scale and connect these automated systems across departments. Imagine connecting the financial AI agents with the sales forecasting agents, with the operational scheduling agents.
Creating a network effect.
Exactly. Creating entire interconnected AI-driven ecosystems that optimize across the whole enterprise, not just in silos. That is the next major architectural challenge, and frankly, the multi-trillion-dollar opportunity that's waiting for you, for all of us, to explore next.
A fascinating and perhaps slightly daunting challenge to end on. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We really hope this is giving you the foundational knowledge and maybe a practical roadmap to start thinking about how you can integrate AI more deeply and begin redefining where your team spends its most valuable hours.
Thanks for the discussion.
We'll catch you next time.